Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning, class 7. How are you? I hope you have done, you are doing well. Sorry, not done, doing well and spent a nice week. So, today is the weekend. We are back with English and we'll do the sword in the stone. It's about a legendary king. It's a legendary story. There was a movie also, an animation film, cartoon film also. Report to have ruled in the 5th and 6th centuries in England, and this is all about a story which we will read, a legendary story about some princes, kings, and a few things about it. Okay, so this was written by Agnes Grozier Herbeston, and she was a novelist, a short story writer, and journalist. She wrote children's books, plays, and poems, as well as 6 novels for adults, including Cottons and Cookery and a comedy for girls. Her parents were originally from Scotland, England. However, as her father used to work for a shipping company, the family traveled a lot. So, wherever the father used to go for transfers, the mother family used to also go. James Grozier Herbeston married Jessie Pitty in Norway, but their children were born in Norway, France, and Scotland, all over the place. And Agnes was born in Oslo, that's Norway, and 1875, and got a private school education in the same city. Okay, so we'll do that. So this is just a story, a legendary story. So this was also a movie was made on it, as I said. So I'll just start reading. After that, I'll give you the explanation, and it's all about the basic thing. I want to tell you what we are going to read in this story is it's about a king. After Arthur Pendragon's death, Merlin the magician forms a stone and in it a sword. After many years, what happens is the young Arthur, the son, secretly the son of the king, Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone and becomes king. Eventually, the holy knight Galahad, the son of Sir Lancelot, comes to Arthur's court. It's like that. So, basic information about it. So that's what we know. So as we go through it, it's a nice story. It's not going to be bad. It's the king's son was raised by another family, and he had to take his rightful place as a king when he was a boy. So he is able to pull the sword called Excalibur from the stone. So whoever is the king's son can only do that. So we'll read about that. It's going to be quite interesting. So let's see what we can do. Okay. So the ominous news ran over the castle. King Arthur was likely to die in the castle. Ominous means that something is going to happen, that there's one atmosphere which, as if a warning, when it's very quiet or it's when too much of noise is there, something wrong is going to happen. So that news was running, that was going all around the castle, that King Arthur was likely to die. So in the castle, in grey corners, the knights chattered. The knights means the guards and all, they were chattering, they were talking with so many barons eager to snatch at the crowns of this fair realm. It would have been a good thing had the king left a son to succeed him, said one. So much of riches, realms, fair realm, and so many barons eager to snatch. So many people are there to snatch his place. If only he had a son to rule after him, that would have been better. So who's going to save all this property of his? But since he has not left a son, retorted another, it would be well if God left him the use of his tongue to declare his successor. For it is well known that the king had been struck dumb. Now, it would be good at least if he could say it by his own mouth that who is going to be his successor, who is going to take care of him. But It is well known for some any other medical reason or something, he has been struck dumb, he cannot speak because of his sickness, he's sick, or he must have gone into a stroke or something, whatever. So you know what happens, how people talk about their bosses or how they talk about their employers, the staff, how people talk, oh my boss is like that, God knows what is going to happen, so much of all that. No one is there to take care of it, who is going to do that? A sudden footstep made their glances turn. Merlin, the enchanter it was, who passed through the entrance hall, his dark cloak drawn high around him, shadowing his face. Merlin goes to the king's chamber, observed one of the gossips, his eye following the dark form. The door being closed behind him, Merlin drew his cloak from his face. Serving the assembled barons and the weeping queen, he covered his eyes for a moment, then turning toward the bed, Sire, said to the king, tell us thy will concerning the welfare of thy kingdom. Is it thy will that thy son Arthur succeed thee, becoming ruler of this fair realm? These words were scarcely uttered when, to the astonishment of all assembled there, the king replied, it is my earnest wish and desire that my son Arthur wear my crown. I bid him therefore that he claim it when the right time comes, in a righteous and just spirit, knowing that to rule this realm is his duty and his responsibility. The king had utterly uttered these words when, with a sign, his breath went from him and he died. Now what happened is, just when these knights and these guards, the palace guards or the kingdom guards, were talking and they were discussing about the king's health and who's going to take care of him and all, why has he gone quiet, why isn't he saying that? But suddenly they see this enchanter or a magician type man, Merlin, Merlin as walking through the hallway, and he's hearing them what they're speaking. So he's got his covered face. You have these long cloaks. Before in England, people used to have these long cloaks, covered his eyes. Magician type, a bit rough type looking. He doesn't want to show his face to anyone. So he goes inside behind the closed doors. He saw more other people are there sitting and listening, and the queen is crying. So he says to his king, Sire, they used to call the king Sire. Sire, what to do now after you are in this health? Who's going to take care of this? Why don't you say, will it be your son Arthur? He said, yes, I want my son to take care of this kingdom, and it's his duty and responsibility. At the right time of the age, he should go ahead and take care of it. That's what I want. And he should be just in spirit. He should be a good king. At the same time, as he said those words, he left his breath and he died. Now, who are the people who heard all this? Was the queen, the enchanter Merlin, and few other people were there. So this is quite a suspense. What is actually happening? Then the barons, in despair and anger, began to accuse Merlin among themselves, calling him an impostor and other names. This is a trick of Merlin, said they, for well does he know that the King Arthur has no son. Now they are wanting to take the place. The other people in this kingdom, they are wanting to take hold of the place. Let the king die, let him go away. Whatever happens, we are going to take care of it. We will take charge. But this impostor, this fellow, he is trying to show himself too much. He is not what he is, but he is trying to show off. That's an impostor. I don't have the capability of dancing, but I want to dance. I am trying to show that I am something. It's like that. Everyone knows that he doesn't have a son. Why does he go and falsely put it? But only, I guess, this fellow only knows where his son is. That King Uther does not have any son. But this fellow knows, otherwise why will he ask that question, isn't it? And why will the king say, yes, it's my earnest wish and desire that my son Arthur should wear my crown. This is also quite, why does he say that? We'll come to know later as we go on through this. For many years, that fair realm which Uther had Uther had governed was torn by strife. By battle and bitter feud, as the barons strove, quarrelled, and made warfare in order to claim the throne. But there dawned a day when the barons were weary of themselves and their claims, as the country was, and were not unwilling that from among them one should be chosen to be king. Now, during the king's time when he was ruling and he was taking care of the kingdom and all, these barons, the below the king people who the supposed ministers and all, they were fighting and torturing and fighting with the king and fighting with the common people, torturing them, and they were trying to take this place. But the general public did not want them. So after a certain point of time they became quiet. If the public doesn't support, you cannot become anything. Isn't it? So, but they had constant fight, war, arguments between themselves, quarreling, fighting, that is called feud. And strife is always war, it's already explained here. And were not willing that from among them one should be chosen a king. They were also fighting within themselves. You can't be, I won't be. So that constant thing was happening. So actually now what is going to happen we'll come to know. I'll come back in the next video and I'll explain it to you.